The Sufferance, a Sons of Entropy short story. Pustules flexed and squirmed upon the vessel's hull. Maggots and worms burrowed through its bloated structure like a corpse in a year-old grave. Networks of tunnels used by these warp-touched creatures permeated the ship's decks. The smell was like that of a vat of rotten meat left in the sun, and it stuck to all around, cloying and intense. Not that the vessel's inhabitants minded. In fact, they revelled in it, enjoyed it, cultivated it. To the Sons of Entropy, this carcass of meat floating through the void was home and solace. The Sufferance, a battle barge class Astartes vessel, ploughed its way through the immaterium. Demons and cultists roamed its decks, the same as an Astartes would, though the Astartes numbers were growing few of late. Only around 100 Marines called the Sufferance home. In the ship's heyday, it would have housed at least double that, at a minimum, but alas, times had changed. Since the chapters turned from loyalty to the throne to the worship of the chaos god Nurgle, everything had changed. Their colours, once a vibrant red with an orange trim, were now dirty greens and so much rust. Their armour was infected with a ferric blight which spread through the shedding of its rusty surfaces. Bisparella Agaric made his slow, ponderous way down the causeway towards the bridge, his enormously swollen power armour thumping on the living deck, causing the ground to squeal, not as metal impacts metal, but as metal impacts a living being. The Marine enjoyed his journey to the bridge greatly. Seeing the new species they had gathered, making the vessel their home, brought him great pride. His power armour creaked and banged as he walked, its cracked ceramite plate held together with rushed repairs, and in places his own flesh had grown to fill the gaps. Grandfather Nurgle knew how to fix the body, and to look after his followers. Agaric thought as he keyed the activation code into the bridge controls. The door did not slide open, but a mouth opened to allow him entry, its long, barbed teeth set into gums overflowing with pus and blood. It smiled as it granted him entry.
"My friend,"
came a gargled voice, which sounded like it had too much liquid on its lungs and something in its mouth. He patted the door's edge with its ceramite gauntlet on the way through, sloughing off the top layer of skin and eliciting a squeal of happiness from the door. Angus and Angus, chief among the chapter's demonic allies, stood at the side of Plague Master Halleck Garrel, Lord of the Warband, and Captain of the Sufferance. Its distorted form defied all conventions of sanity. Skin the colour of rotten flesh sloughed from the creature. Pustules and boils replaced it before popping and releasing tens of white slime-covered maggots. He spoke in a language that hurt your soul to witness. Every syllable was wrong, and yet right in equal measure. Only the Master Garrel understood this creature. His dirt-encrusted and blood-stained Terminator armour filled the command throne and poured over its sides. It had been many centuries since the Plague Master had left his command throne. The smell on the bridge was overwhelming. Walking corpses went around their duties of ship maintenance and piloting the vessel. Flies filled the room, passing messages in place of vox, flying into the dead men and whispering commands, before biting and laying eggs within them. Everything was used and reused on the ship, including the crew. Their bodies, minds, souls, all reconstituted and broken down by the various species that comprised the vessel. A menagerie of warp-touched creatures, abominations that kept the ship working and the crew working.
"Incoming vessel,"
droned a monotone and phlegm-laced voice from the auger readers.
"Transmit to Hololith,"
bellowed the inhumanly loud and deep voice of the Terminator Lord. His underling complied wordlessly, as its claw-like fingers pressed the relevant keys. The hololith burst into life, dazzling colours, blues and greens, showing local space and a narrow-band auger scan thousands of kilometres away. There, plain as the rot on the crew, was a fleet of ships. The lead vessel was a battle barge of ancient design, flanked by 5 escorts. At this range, the augurs could tell sizes and distinguish vessels, but not if some were huddled together. Below the sufferance, the planet spun lazily, not orbiting a sun, just existing. The void was bright with colours and hues that could break the mortal mind, and shapes that moves in and out of the corner of your eyes. This, after all, was the Maelstrom, the largest warp rift after the Great Eye, up until Abaddon, the Despoiler, ripped the galaxy in two. Since then, the 2 warp anomalies were joined, and the energies of the warp became that much more potent. The planet was the home of the Sons of Entropy, a toxic hellhole of rot and decay, just how they liked it. But its location made it a target for many of the servants of other Chaos Gods, as it was near the Octarius Rift. The Octarius Rift being a stable warp route to and from the sundered halves of the Imperium.